With just under 2 months remaining in the NHL season, the Western Conference playoff race looks like it could be one for the ages. There are a ton of teams still in it, and a big bunch all within an 8 to 10 point window. This looks like it really could go right down to the wire. We're going to take a look at the standings right now. Hey everybody, so today we're going to be taking a look at the Western Conference playoff race, which is really heating up here at the beginning of March. There are a bunch of teams still in the playoff picture. There's a large group of teams fighting for positioning, all within about 8 points of each other, and this looks like a big-time battle that could come down right till the end of the season, maybe just the last week or so before it's all decided. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch down the stretch. There's going to be some great hockey played out west, and we're going to have to wait and see which of these teams are able to make it in and which teams are left on the outside. But let's take a look here at the Western Conference standings, take a look at where everybody is at, and talk about this awesome playoff race that we have going on. First off, I want to talk about the teams that are pretty much locked in, and those are the teams with 70-plus points right now. Colorado, obviously the top team in the West with 84 points, probably the top team in the league this season, probably going to win the President's Trophy. Colorado obviously locked into a playoff spot. St. Louis, they have 70 points right now. They've played 52 games. They're playing really well recently on a 4-game win streak and 7-2-1 in their last 10. I'm going to go out and say that St. Louis is locked into a playoff spot at this point. They're going to be a playoff team. And the Calgary Flames, they have 70 points through 52 games. They're 9-1 in their last 10, playing great hockey. Calgary is locked into a playoff spot. Those three teams are absolutely going to make the playoffs this year. They're not really in the race anymore. It's just going to be about seeding for them, but they're going to be in the playoffs. The teams that are out of it, let's scroll down to the bottom here. The teams that are out of it in this wild card picture, I would say anybody that is 500 or worse at this point is out of it in the Western Conference. So that's San Jose, Chicago, Seattle, and Arizona. Those teams are not making the playoffs. San Jose is the closest to still being in it with 54 points, but they're 24-24-6 on the season. Exactly 500, and they only have 2 wins in their last 5 games. I might have given San Jose more of a chance if they were playing well recently and they were like on the verge of getting hot, but they've been absolutely awful recently. Only 2 wins in their last 10 games. San Jose's all done. So that leaves Minnesota with 65 points in the last spot currently in the Central. That leaves Los Angeles with 65 points in second place in the Pacific. Vegas with 64 points in third place in the Pacific. And then our 2 wild card teams right now are Nashville with 64 points and Edmonton with 63 points. Those 2 teams would make the playoffs if the season ended right now. Just outside of the playoff spots right now, there are a bunch of teams still fighting for this playoff positioning. The Dallas Stars, Anaheim Ducks, Vancouver Canucks, and Winnipeg Jets are all still very much in the playoff race. Now, Winnipeg, they're at 57 points. They're 6 points out of a playoff spot right now, away from Edmonton in that last wild card spot. It's a bit of a long shot for the Jets, but they're not completely out of it yet. Vancouver's at 58 points. They're 5 points back. Again, it's a long shot for Vancouver, but they're not completely out of it. Anaheim and Dallas are still very much in this race. They're just 2 points back of a playoff spot. Dallas has only played 52 games, which means they have games in hand over Nashville. They have 1 game in hand over Nashville. They have 2 games in hand over Edmonton. And they have 4 games in hand over Anaheim, who is also at 61 points right now. This 56 games played is going to be a problem for the Anaheim Ducks because they have played more games than any of these other teams that are still in this race right now. And they're on the outside looking in. They're at 61 points. Now, they're only 2 points back, but Edmonton has 2 games in hand on the Ducks. Dallas has 4 games in hand on the Ducks. Vancouver has a game in hand on the Ducks. Winnipeg has 2 games in hand. Vegas has 2 games in hand. LA has 2 games in hand. So everybody's got games in hand on Anaheim, which is not going to help the Ducks' case here. But all in all, you can see how tight this race is. You've got Minnesota at 65, LA at 65, Vegas at 64, Nashville at 64, Edmonton at 63, Dallas at 61, Anaheim at 61, Vancouver at 58, Winnipeg at 57. All of these teams in an 8-point window between 57 and 65 points. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams in the Western Conference, all in that window between 57 and 65 points. This is going to be a big-time battle down the stretch for these last, 7-8 weeks of the NHL season. It is going to be a big-time battle down the stretch for a lot of these teams to try and get into a playoff spot. Now, I do think that Minnesota makes the playoffs. I do think that LA makes the playoffs. I think more likely than not, Vegas is going to get in, although they haven't been all that convincing. But I do think Vegas is going to end up getting in. It's really these wild card spots, in my opinion, that are really up for grabs. You've got Nashville at 64, Edmonton at 63. Then you've got Dallas, Anaheim, right on that doorstep. Vancouver's a little ways back. Winnipeg is a little ways back, but still within striking distance. These wild card spots might be contested right down to the final week or two of the NHL season. It is a fantastically close race right now, and it's going to make for a really exciting ending to the NHL year, all the way down till these final spots are figured out. Now, I do think that Nashville is going to get in. I think it's really between Edmonton and Dallas in all likelihood as to who gets that last wild card spot. Are the Oilers going to sneak in, or is Dallas going to come out and take a spot from them? That is going to be the big question for me, I think, as this race comes down to the wire. Because I think more than likely than not, it's going to come down to those 2 teams to see one gets in, one gets left out. I think Anaheim's games in hand situation is going to end up hurting them. They also haven't been playing great recently. Only 4-5-1 in their last 10. And then Vancouver and Winnipeg, I think, are kind of long shots. They're still within striking distance, but I think they're a little too far back right now for me to pick them to get into the postseason. But it's going to be interesting. They certainly still have a shot. But all in all, this Western Conference race has been absolutely outstanding all season long. It's outstanding right now, and it looks like it's going to come right down to the wire to see which of these teams are able to get into the playoffs. And if anyone loses that spot, if a team like Dallas or Anaheim or Vancouver is able to jump in and steal a spot away from somebody who is currently in a playoff spot right now. But if you look at the standings as it is right this second on Wednesday afternoon, these are your 8 playoff teams from the Western Conference as of right now. And again, we'd have to. We're still a lot of hockey left to be played. We'll have to see how it all plays out long term. But there is no doubt that this Western Conference race is going to be a lot of fun to watch the rest of the way. There's a lot of teams still in it, and it is going to be an absolute dogfight to see who gets into the playoffs and who does not. So just wanted to point that out, talk about the West a little bit, because it is a fantastic race going on right now for playoff spots. And I think it's going to be a great thing for the NHL, and it's going to be a lot of fun for the fans to watch this race the rest of the way. But with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, merchandise store, membership, and donation links are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.